Hey there! Have you heard of the Facebook Community Summit? Well, the one for 2022 just took place last week, and it was held entirely online, filled with feature announcements, case studies, and community manager spotlights. If you're unfamiliar with the Facebook Community Summit, it's an annual event hosted by Meta to inspire community builders, hear from Facebook leaders, and learn about new products and features to help users build, grow, and support their groups. The first hour of the event was accessible to the public, totally open to the public, with an additional 2 hours of content reserved for members of Facebook's Power Admins group and Community Learning Labs. After spending 3 hours at the event, I'm certain of one thing. This is the year of the community manager. My name is Tanya Kubo, and I'm a strategist and agency owner who supports experts and enterprises in developing highly engaged online communities so that they can grow their groups and get results without feeling frazzled. And this means I spend a lot of time on Facebook and a lot of time in running Facebook groups. So I'm always paying attention to the Facebook Community Summit because it gives me a wider perspective on how people are using groups right now, the challenges they're experiencing, and what Facebook is doing to make groups a better place for all of us to spend time online. Now, at prior summits, I've seen Facebook reveal features and share best practices focused on member experience. In fact, I would say prioritizing the member experience over the community manager experience. And it's been frustrating, right? Especially when it feels like some of the features are making life a lot easier for group members, but life a lot harder for admins. And on admin teams where the admins are working entirely out of love, right? Complete volunteers, it can be really, really hard. Now, looking at this year's summit, though, I think the pendulum is swinging a lot closer to the center. So, most of the groups and group leaders featured at this year's summit either started during the pandemic or had exponential growth during the pandemic, which I think does a really good job of highlighting both the blessing and the curse of managing large active communities. A lot of people who had quiet communities before, those communities just blew up in popularity in the pandemic when everybody was at home and desperately looking to connect over shared interests. Now, I've taken some notes on a few things that I saw in the group, but before I do that, before I sort of share my notes with you, I want to show you, because we're going to be talking about some feature updates, I want to show you where to find features in your Facebook group if you have one, because it's not always easy. And a lot of the features that I'm going to talk to you about right now, you may not have access to. I don't have access to several of them, but I want you to know where to look for them when you do get access. So what you'll do is you'll go to your group, make sure you are logged into whatever profile has admin privileges. On the left-hand side here, go to Manage. And then you'll see you have a long list of options. What you want to do is scroll all the way down. You can go to group settings and navigate from there, or go directly to add features. Go to add features. You'll have this window here, and this will show you all the features that are available for your group. Now you can look at post formats. And if settings is marked here, that means that feature is enabled on your group. And if it says add, that feature is not enabled. This is the list where many of the features I'll be telling you about today will show up once they are available in your group. You can also add feature sets, right? Emergency relief, parenting, questions and advice, real-time conversations. This is where live videos, rooms, events. So when you add a set, you're adding all of these post formats all at once. And then you've got other features as well that you will find here. So that's how you add features to your group. So what we're going to do is we are going to go back and make sure that, yep, just making sure you can still see me. Alrighty, so here are the notes that I took on the Facebook Community Summit. So first note I took, and keep in mind, these are my overall impressions. This isn't an actual chronological listing of what happened at the summit. But the first note I took is that leadership drives community culture. If you've been a professional community manager, you already know this. I think if you're an experienced community manager, even if you've been only working in one group, but you've been doing that for a long time, you have seen firsthand speed of the leader, speed of the gang. Whether community thrives or languishes, 100% is related to the management and governance of that group. And that's challenging for group leaders who don't have training or experience, especially when they don't quite understand how online user behavior and group dynamics work in an online setting. So in 2023, Facebook is going to be testing some new tools to support admins in managing and promoting group culture. You can expect to see new ways for admins to highlight top contributing members. I love this. They'll be getting points for engagement driving actions. Those points will lead to special badges. Facebook will let you know about these top point earners, and then you can decide what to do with it from there. You can celebrate their success. That's something I like doing in my groups. You can, just send them a personal thank you. There are some groups that send, $5 gift cards to people in their group who are, the top 3 most engaged members or the top 3 most helpful members, and so on. One example of sort of one of these new roles is the socializer role. So this is going to allow admins to recognize members that are most hospitable to new members. So that person in your group who's always welcoming the new members, who when a new member asks a question says, "I'm so sorry if this has already been asked before, but I'm new here and I don't know where to look, blah, blah, blah." That person comes in and says, "Oh, don't you even worry. That is a really common question. Here's the answer. And if you want to know more, search this topic here in the group or tag this person and they can help you out." Like that person who has infinite patience and just a big heart for the new members, well, you can make them a socializer. This is something I look forward to doing in my groups, especially to highlight those who show potential to be an admin or a moderator, but maybe they're not sure if it's too much responsibility, or maybe I'm not sure how well they'll do if they have a dedicated role. I might make them a socializer and just see how they do there with the proper care and feeding of new members and group engagement, and then see if governance and strategy and those sorts of things are also their gift, and then we can promote them up from there. This is really great for communities that do best when managed by people who have come up from within the community. So I think smart community managers are going to pay attention to when new features are added to their groups, and they're going to think through how to leverage those features to improve the effectiveness of the communities they host. Not all features should be enabled in all groups, right? No, I don't manage any groups that have buy sell features turned on because it doesn't make sense for the types of groups that I lead. So I would encourage you personally to stay open-minded when considering the new features and flexible. Know that it's not unusual for Facebook to test a feature and then to delete that feature or cancel that feature if it's not performing quite like they expected, if it's not well adopted, or even if it just turns out to be harder to maintain than anticipated. Another note I took is that we're finally humanizing Admin Assist. Thank you. Oh my goodness. So I love the idea of Admin Assist, right? It debuted in 2020 and it had this goal of automating some aspects of group governance. There was one group I was managing at the time, had about 14,000 members, and it was a little bit of a cesspool, honestly. Just had, it had been ill managed for several years. It had been neglected for a few years before I took it over. And so there was just a lot of fake accounts, but just a lot of spam going throughout the group. And, we started rebuilding it. We rebuilt the structure of it. We put in rules, but it was hard to stay on top of all the spam going on in the group. And, you can remove members, but even that was a little onerous. Admin Assist helped us set up criteria so that anybody who tried to post a link, their posts were declined. People who tried to post videos, we had those posts being held to, pending admin review, and it worked out really well. But so for me, it was like having a full-time assistant, and it was so helpful in that group. But it's not perfect. And in a lot of my groups, it doesn't quite make sense because there's nuance to our policies. For instance, it's not that, I lead one group. It's not that we don't allow any links. We don't allow links to competing products. So in that case, I need all link posts to be held for review, but I don't need them to be declined. And I definitely don't need the member to be kicked out. So that nuance, you can, if you know Admin Assist really well, you can make it work, but not everybody does. And so what I love is there's some things happening that is going to make Admin Assist just a little bit more useful to us. So one thing I like is Daily Digest. we will now get a daily summary of actions taken in our groups so that we can see if Admin Assist is working like we think it will. But my personal favorite is Flagged by Facebook, because I don't know about you, but I have been in groups where content is flagged that doesn't make sense. You can think about this like pet groups, sometimes medical related groups, surgery support group, for instance. People will post things and then Facebook will flag it as going against the community standards when it really doesn't. The example used during the Facebook Community Summit was there was a group of fish tank enthusiasts, and somebody had posted a picture of a fish and called it fatty. And that got flagged, right? That does not go against community standards, right? That is not the intent or the purpose of the post. So now with Flagged by Facebook, admins of the group can override these automatic rejections and provide additional context to why those posts should be allowed in the group. So it allows you to have a little bit more case-by-case approval. Smart community managers, I think, will set up Admin Assist and other tools with the purpose and practice of their groups in mind. You know your group best. You know what you need to be mindful of and what can be automated and what needs to have a more personal touch. And then I encourage you to make those decisions accordingly. Another big theme coming out of the summit: content connects communities. Now, you know this. You know that without some type of content, there's not a lot for members to actually connect with each other around. There's nothing to engage with. So one new engagement driving content type that you may already have, I know several people do, even though it's not fully rolled out in my groups yet, is Reels. And Reels in groups will allow admins and members the ability to create highly customized short videos to connect with one another. So it's bringing short form vertical video to your Facebook group. They're also testing the ability to share public Facebook events for your community to your stories on Instagram, right? Which would increase the visibility, because Instagram doesn't have groups. So some of us have found it kind of difficult to let our Instagram audience know about our Facebook groups, but this actually will make a whole lot more sense for folks. And it'll be great to draw some additional attention and get you in front of a wider audience. But here's the important thing for smart community managers, right? Do not blast your group with push type notifications and expect it to thrive. It just doesn't happen. Content that inspires and rewards direct two-way communication is what fosters connection. And it fosters connection faster and more effectively than when you act as too strong of a gatekeeper and force all interactions to go through you. So, there are some circumstances where it makes sense to have a group where only admins can post, but very rarely is that the case. Now, we also saw some updates with chats. So using the chat function to link admins to their group members. Now, remember that back in the day when Facebook groups started, you as a group leader could message anybody in your group and they would get it because there wasn't a message requests folder, right? There wasn't as much gatekeeping between admins and the members. You could bypass group notification settings and really make sure that everybody in your group knew about important things that were happening. Problem is it was great for those of us who are admins, right? Because it gave us a direct line of communication to our people. Wasn't so great for some community members, especially if they felt spammed by overeager group leaders who needed to tell them who sent them a message every day about a sale or every week about a sale. And then you imagine if they're in 5 groups like that and they're just getting hammered every single day with notifications and posts that maybe don't even apply to them. Well, Facebook's been testing a variety of options with chat tools to strike a balance between meeting the needs of group leaders and group members. Community chats has been fun. It allows group leaders to create channels, audio channels, and event chats to facilitate real-time conversations around shared interests for group members. View-only chats are also being tested as a way for community managers to push out information without having to manage the responses. And admin chats will give the leadership teams a way to collaborate in real time. So here's the thing. Community chats are a lot of fun. A couple of the communities I lead, we have chats going. Let me see if I have one that's not personal. Okay, here's one that I can share with you really quickly. Just get my screen share set up for you. And right there. Yep, that looks about right. Alrighty, so you see here, this is what I already showed you, but looking over here to the right-hand side with chats, I opened up chat and you'll see I have an inbox and now I have a communities tab. So here in the communities tab, you will see that, excuse me. So this is from the summit. So we had the Facebook Community Summit. There was a main chat for that, and then several channels related to certain topics. So mental health and crisis prevention, community-based marketing, positively influencing group members. Then this video fun challenge, this is a chat for a different group. This is a chat for a different group as well. But now they can all be housed here, and they're really easy to access from your mobile device, even more so, I would say, than from a computer. But either way works, right? So that is how you access the chats. Now, what I will say is the view only chats, I like that idea. You know, I like the idea of to push notifications out to my groups. But I would say if you want to be smart about it, you really need to understand the fine line between caring for your group and making sure that your members are aware of important information, and then just spamming them with overly promotional messages. If you doubt how poorly these things can be used, just think about the recent at everyone tag in groups, right? How many admins are out there and they mean well, but they're just spamming their members. Every day they're putting up a post with an at everyone tag, and all it really is like, oh, there's a new blog article, or oh, we have a sale, right? You want to be mindful of how you use these tools and use them sparingly. Think of your group interactions as a courtship. Don't go proposing marriage on the first date. This is not a casting call for 90 Day Fiancé. All right, another point, and this one I think is super important. Self-care is total care for community managers. Well-run communities can become deeply personal for members and their leaders, even if the group isn't sensitive in nature, like even if the topics aren't sensitive. And I love that Facebook had a panel of community leaders who had groups that were really focused on sensitive subjects, mental health, domestic violence. And they were just highlighting the importance of making sure that admin teams have the training necessary to appropriately support group members and also have an understanding of how to care for themselves in the process. So if you're a smart community manager, right, you know, just because social media never sleeps doesn't mean you can't. You want to have a plan in place to prevent admin burnout for yourself and your peers. And you want to support the emotional needs of your leadership team if you have one. Establish systems that support harmony between group management tasks and personal health and well-being. You might need to schedule shifts for your team so there are clear boundaries between work time and personal time, or it may not be necessary. It depends on how big your group is, how active, how many admins you have. Now, one of my favorite topics was a panel about brands, right? So it was like the business case of Facebook communities. And I have known for a long time that communities foster brand loyalty and business results, but that's because I've been a professional community manager for a long time, right? I managed online communities for a university, managed online communities for a large digital marketing company, and I've been managing communities in various ways for clients and organizations since 2007. So long time. So I know that when effectively managed, corporate communities can be gathering places to support new customers, foster brand loyalty, and put decision makers in direct contact with their ideal clients. But the case study shared at the summit was a really interesting one. And it was with Marriott social media manager. And what she was sharing is that they discovered that there were several Facebook groups that were run by Bonvoy members. And Bonvoy is their loyalty program. And these members were running these groups just trying to figure out how to maximize their points, right? How do you get the most out of your points? And Marriott recognized, hey, this is something we should be doing. Like, this is a service we should provide to our loyalty club members. And, you know, if anybody should show them how to make the most of their points, it should be us, because we can point them, you know, in the right direction when it comes to which resorts to go to, or, you know, where on the globe is like a really good use of their points, different upgrades they may not know about. So by creating the Bonvoy Insider or Marriott Bonvoy Insiders group on Facebook, the hotel and resort company created space for more than 146,000 members to gather, share tips and tricks, while also helping the company understand what members like and dislike about their program so they can improve the experience for all involved. And then Canva's community manager was also part of that panel and shared, how their community has evolved over time directly due to the information members have provided and how much members have informed product development as well. And what I loved there is the manager was just sharing how surprised he is by how many members will generously give of their time by hopping on Zoom or recording tutorial videos for other members who are struggling with the tool. So even though Canva, it's software as a service, right? They have members who are such super fans of their product that they will take their own time to help other people use the product better, right? And that's really what online community is about, is just helping each other out. So smart community managers know the business case for community is increased revenue, it's customer and client retention, and fewer customer service issues, right? People, if you run your brand community really, really well, people aren't frustrated and feeling like they're constantly hitting a wall in customer service because they have a direct line to you and you can help them out before they're just too frustrated. So your role really is a frontline position requiring equal parts customer service, hospitality, product development, and tech support. You want to make sure you know your product inside and out because you're going to be attracting members who are super users and they may know the product better than you. So you want to be able to address member concerns directly and you want to embrace ideas for improvement. If they do know the product better than you and they have some insight that hasn't crossed your mind yet or that you've never explored, be open to that. Give them credit for the idea they had and then see if it's something that would work on a larger scale. Make sure that you understand that as a community manager, you sit in between the community and decision makers, right? And so your role is really to be an advocate for the community while you're also a representative of the brand. And smart community managers know the dangers of neglecting communities that are associated with brands and organizations. Now, this wasn't covered during the summit, but this is something I have seen firsthand. So I'm just going to, this is my pro tip for you. If shifting priorities or staffing changes prevent you from being able to manage your community well, or you just can't stay on top of the activity in your organization's groups, you're much better off archiving them than allowing neglect to turn it into a Lord of the Flies situation, because that doesn't help anybody. And it's really hard to turn that ship around once it's gone sideways. Now, overarching, when I look at the whole summit as a whole, one thing that I kind of took away, and this is something I've been anecdotally seeing as well, but it was clearly apparent at the summit, is that community management is growing as a profession. I've been noticing a lot more postings on LinkedIn for community management roles, and they're finally like more than minimum wage, because for a long time people thought community managers were low-level customer service folks, and they were paying them less than they would pay somebody who had to do a whole bunch of phone work. So communities are moving away from dumping community management responsibilities on the nearest or youngest staff member or making it duties as assigned. And they're seeking out professionals who have skills and experience in online user behavior, group dynamics, and people management. Community management roles, I will tell you, still vary in design, right? They might sit in marketing, they maybe sit in operations or product fulfillment departments. Some of them are highly administrative, working behind the scenes. Others are positioned as the face of the organization online. I find that groups that have a public face, a real life human attached to them, are so much healthier than ones that are managed by this like nameless, faceless entity posting as the brand. But just know that, the jobs that we're seeing listed out there right now, and you can just do a quick scroll through LinkedIn and you'll find them. They just run across the board right now. There's a full spectrum. Also, pay is varied. I've seen full-time roles that focus on customer service range in salary from $40,000 to $60,000 a year. And then I've seen roles that are focused on strategy, growth, effective management with salaries up to $100,000 a year. So really anything in between is, I would say, reasonable. I will tell you, though, that smart community managers Want to pay attention to the details, because some of these roles you would think would be a remote position, but not all of them are. Some of them require you to work on site. Some require travel to in-person events or that you host in-person events. So you'll want to be mindful of that if you're looking to become a professional community manager and work for a larger organization and do the job full time. But I would also say that, if this is not something you've thought about and you're like, wow, I didn't know that that could be a job, I want you to really think about how you can apply the skills that you have honed in running groups and to a variety of products and services. So take a look at your skills, take a look at your experience. Make sure that you're not overselling your skills, but don't undersell yourself either, right? You want to position yourself accurately according to what you know your superpowers to be. Are you a growth strategist? Are you a member retention specialist? Can you tie thousands of dollars in revenue to the way that you practice group management? No matter what your skills are, I guarantee there's a company out there that needs it and wants it. So package and promote your skills accordingly. Again, don't oversell, but definitely don't undersell. And if you want to manage communities full-time for a brand and organization, just make sure to pay attention to the job listing details. Like, pay attention to that fine print. Is it a part-time job, a full-time job, on-site, remote? Make sure you know what you're getting into before you take the time to apply. All right, well, that is my summary of the Facebook Community Summit. If you were there, I'd love to know your thoughts. If you weren't there, please let me know if you have additional questions. And I would say, if you are somebody who has an online community, or maybe you're looking to start one in the future and you are looking for help, maybe we should talk, right? Team Kubo, my online community agency, specializes in community development and growth. So whether you need help with strategy, training your admin team, or day-to-day management of your group, we have services that might be able to be a good fit for you. The first step would be to complete our no-cost community health assessment so that we can identify your needs and customize a plan to get you the results you desire. Now, the link to that will be below this video. I would also love to connect with you. You can find me on our free Facebook group, which is tanya.link/group down at the bottom of the screen, or find us on Instagram if that is your preferred channel of choice. And I am at Tanya Kubo there. With that, have a great day. And you know what? If you like what we're providing, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to this channel. Take care.